Hello, everyone. Welcome to the OCS Career Journeys Math Alumni Panel. My name is Jeanette Martinez from the Office of Career Services. Today, we have Carling Sugarman, class of 2014, and Brenda Castro, class of 2018, who will talk to us about their experience as math alumni. Our moderator today will be HMC student Maddie Reeves. We will take questions at the end of the event, but please feel free to submit the questions in the chat box and we will try to get through as many as we can. Without further ado, the mic is yours, Maddie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maddie. I'm a sophomore math major here at MUD, and I also work as a peer consultant for the Office of Career Services. As an introduction, I would like to ask our panelists to share their names, major while at MUD, and also current profession or graduate status. Maybe Carling, if you can start us off.
Yeah, sure thing. So my name's Carling. I use she, her pronouns, and I was a math major at MUD. As was mentioned, I'm class of 2014, and I currently work in software engineering at an advertising company.
And I'm Brenda Castro. Any pronoun is fine. I identify as a gender. I had majored in joint computer science mathematics. Did a master's in mental health counseling. So now I work as a mental health therapist and as a rock climbing coach while I'm still building up my caseload. Graduate status wise, I did start a PhD program in information science. I just ended up swapping after that.
I have no additional degrees.
Thank you guys so much. Our next question is, can you describe your journey from graduation to your current role, and what were the pivotal moments that led you to where you are today? Maybe this time we can start with Brenda.
All right, that journey is a little zigzaggy. So after MUD, I had accepted an offer to start a PhD program at Cornell Tech in New York City. In information science, so like interdisciplinary computer science. At the time, I was like, what's information science? And did research for like people who are visually impaired for a year. But my mental health was severe enough that I decided to take a gap year. And when I was at MUD, like people were like, oh, PhDs are easy if you get through MUD. So it's like, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can do it even if I'm depressed. And turns out my advisor wasn't that great, so that didn't help. But I was like, nah, if I'm depressed, I need a year to just like figure out how to feel things again and figure that out. And during that time, I had already gotten accepted to a conference for like minorities in computer science, and as a Hispanic female, I figured that would be a good place to inquire for feedback on like my journey with my career. Because at this point, when I had taken some time for my mental health, I was like, okay, what do I want to actually do with my life? Because the PhD didn't feel as appealing. And somebody suggested, after like considering just all the ideas in the world, like Trader Joe's cashier, and then I don't know, lawyer, or doctor, go to med school. They were like, you could be a therapist, and that sounded really fitting. So I went to this conference and I was telling people like, hey, I'm thinking about being a therapist. What do you think? Because if this conference is aiming to keep minorities in STEM, I would be like, oh, maybe they'll be the ones to convince me back. But everyone was just like, nah, go do what you love. You'd be a great therapist. And so then I was like, oh, okay. So after I came back from that conference, I sent an email to like quit my PhD, and I felt very badass doing so. And then started the master's program in mental health counseling. And so I just graduated with the master's so last year in June. So I guess it's not just anymore, but now I have a limited permit as a mental health counselor. I'm getting paid to see clients now with this. I have supervisor, and by the end of the year, I should have my license, so I can just be a solo practitioner in New York. That's how I got here.
Super cool. I will go next. I also have lots of zigzags along the way and forming my career. Toward the end of MUD, I was very burnt out. I'm sure if you're a senior or even a junior, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was certainly sick of math. And I was dating my current partner, spouse now, who is also a mutter, a physics major. And they knew what they wanted to do, which was to go start a PhD program. So I just followed them to Chicago and rode my bike for Postmates and thought hard about what I wanted to do, and then worked at Whole Foods. And then I was really, really excited about beer. And so I decided I'm going to learn how to brew beer professionally. And so I did that for a year and worked at a brewery in Chicago. And then that was kind of like my gap year and a half, I'd say, of like just exploring passions and taking a full break from anything technical or math related. And then I got like a little mentally bored with that and decided to start to weave my way back into doing technical things. The first thing I did was sort of halfway there, which was I worked at a high school as part of a college access program called the Schuler Scholar Program. So I was positioned in a Chicago high school, and I was basically a math and computer science teacher for the students that were part of this program. I did that for a year. And at that point, I was like, teaching coding makes me remember that I actually kind of liked it when I took some of it at Mud. So maybe I'll try to pivot and pursue that. And at that point, I had moved back to LA, and I was like, I'll try doing a coding boot camp to like get myself refreshed on the world of computer science. So I did that. It was like maybe 3 months long, and I got myself like basically interview prep ready, and started applying to software jobs. And I started working at Google. That was in 2016. And since then have been doing a career in software engineering. And that's my path. So yeah, I really had no idea what I wanted to do at the beginning though.
Oh, this is
Turned
awesome.
into something more typical for mutters.
This is
Yeah.
like really reassuring to me because I don't know. I feel like the decision to know your whole future after college always feels really stressful. So
Now go
you
for
guys
a beer.
are sharing your stories.
Yeah.
Yes, I love, your experiences. Thank you so much. Definitely non-traditional, but this is great because you're where you are and you're happy. So I have the next question. So were there any moments of personal doubt or uncertainty along your journey? Or did you receive any pushback or skepticism from others when pursuing your career paths? How did you handle it? Carlene, can you get us started?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% yes to all of that. I think especially, and maybe some of you are fielding these questions from your parents as well, but especially from my parents who were like, wait a second, we just sent you to one of the best colleges in the country to get a math degree. Like, what are you doing riding your bike around Chicago delivering food to people? And my answer to that is like, it takes time to figure your life out, and that's totally okay. And a few years is not wasted if you're not like using your degree immediately. So yeah, what was the second part of the question? It was if people doubted you or questioned you.
Yeah, did you like receive pushback or skepticism when you were pursuing it, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, absolutely. How did I handle it? Probably not well. Probably arguing with my parents about how I had it figured out at 22 years old. But I don't know. I think even though I was getting this pushback from them, I was also like having pushback from myself. Like, what am I doing? Why did I spend all this time getting this very challenging degree? And I think over time, I eventually just like push that down, and I think that was the right answer. Like, why are we putting so much pressure on ourselves? And I think over time realizing that the stuff that I learned in my math degree, even when I wasn't applying it directly to something technical, was so useful. Just like the critical thinking skills you learn, and the way you're able to like parse problems in the world. I think like latching onto those ideas helped me to shut down the bullshit self-talk.
Thank you, Carlene. Brenda, do you want to take a stab?
I mean, yeah, I definitely had lots of doubt on the journey. I mean, that's part of where the mental health issues all came from. Um, when I took a gap year, let's see, and I was again considering what I wanted to do, the idea of switching careers, just pivoting my path. It's like, yeah, I had just gone to Mud and I did all this work. Like, was I really gonna like just pivot? And it I felt a lot of internal criticism. I think like Carling said, it for me it was mostly internal. My parents might have given some pushback, but thankfully everybody was really like most people in my life were supportive of me changing. Like there was a fellow Mudder from my class who I ended up meeting in New York on accident. It was great. And she was like, "Oh, you'd make a great therapist." And like, people don't understand what it's like to be at Mud, and you understand that's like beneficial, et cetera, et cetera. And it was really reassuring to hear her say that, because in my head, I'm just like, everyone else is doing all these awesome things, and I'm just kind of doing something that I consider more mundane, I suppose. And there was a lot of internal stuff, but I having had dealt with passive suicidal ideation, it's like, well, if I just kind of don't want to exist right now and I'd rather be dead, doing something I like is better than trying to, I don't know, do something that makes me feel cool, let's say. Anyway, so eventually I got stuff figured out, how to overcome it. Lots of reflection, lots of self-care, reaching out for support, my therapist, my psychiatrist, exercise, the whole gamut of self-care tools and time. And now, I mean, again, I feel very happy with all my choices. I feel like so fulfilled now. I love my job. I love where I am now, and it's really beautiful to be in this space. But with regarding like Mud, like even though I did my computer science mathematics major, I don't regret that at all and don't consider it a waste, because I would always wonder, because I grew up as a STEMmy kid, like I loved math. And then once I learned about computer science, I'm like, I want to do that. I didn't know computer science was a thing. My high school didn't have APCS. And so had I not done it, I would always wonder what if. And so I treasure my time at Mud. And, I pivoted, but I got to have an experience that I really wanted and valued. So that's how I look back on my journey.
Thank you guys so much for sharing. The next question I want to ask is, going back to your time at Mud, what led you guys to choose to study your major, math and computer science? And did you have a certain career in mind when you picked it?
That's a great question. I'm happy to jump in first. Definitely didn't have a career in mind. In fact, I would say it was the exact opposite. I think I looked at college as just like free time to explore stuff that I would not be able to explore or have time to explore anytime else in my life. So I definitely focused more on like the pure side of math. Didn't really care at all about statistics or DEs or any of that. Like loved real analysis, loved abstract algebra, loved topology. And I was like, let's just go with that. Let's just like the fact that I like sitting with these types of thought problems. I'm just gonna do that and not worry too much about where that's gonna take me later. Basically, I had no foresight, and I think that worked out great for me. Like that's kind of how I approach my whole life anyway, is just like live in the moment, do what I'm enjoying, and things will probably work out okay, and they have so far. So yeah, I think I did go through a process of like changing my major a couple times. At the very start, I thought math was going to be it, and then I really liked computer science and was I think at some point declared math CS. But then I realized that in order to fulfill math CS, I would have to take certain classes that I didn't care about in the CS side of things, and that would leave me less time to take some of the more advanced pure math classes. So I was like, screw that. I don't really care. Like I'll probably, I've learned to code enough here that if I want to do that down the line, I'll probably be fine. So I'm just going to take the time to take the cool classes and hang out with the professors I like. And that was basically all of my thought process, which is not very deep.
Thank
Not
you.
very deep, but it sounds like what I heard. I remember being like was an accepted students program thing. Like I came by, I remember like a mutter being like, treasure your time here and don't just spend it all doing homework, like and take advantage of the cool stuff, the cool people. You did that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will push that message to the day I die, because like as much as at age 30 you say you want to sit down and like think about abstract algebra again, you're not going to do it, and you're not going to have the discipline to do it. So yeah, relish in that moment, and yeah, enjoy the fact that you have cool professors to go talk to about like the craziest, most intellectual shit.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So, talking about professors and your network, how has networking and building relationships played a role in your career? Brenda, can you get us started with this one?
Yeah. Networking and I mean the relationships I have just valued immensely. And so yeah, by definition, the next step I guess is I value networking. I mean at Mud, people again, like I felt honored to be like taught by Arthur Benjamin. Like I'm just like, oh my gosh, Arthur Benjamin, the mathematician. Like I hear his name now a lot in random circles, and it's like, oh my gosh, I was taught by him. Anywho, so like him, and then like Zachary Dodds, like those are two names that come to mind of just like people that were really supportive while I was navigating, the tough time that mud can be. Um, Also a physics professor whose name is now escaping me, but like they're just the relationship felt very valuable in like giving me the confidence to just keep going, like the fact that I was a competent, capable student, like their faith in me was beautiful when I didn't have that faith in myself. And then going forward, um networking, the people in my life are part of what helped me pivot into therapy mode to be a therapist. And I mean, networking is still really valuable. And I think the one example that comes to mind right now recently is there's this foundation called the Chosen Family Law Center, and Diana Adams founded it. And they were like initially in the polyamorous community, and so I remember finding them because I was looking into that for some reason. And then like 2 years later, so the Chosen Family Law Center is something like I subscribe to, and they're like held this gala. It's like benefit for their foundation, and Esther Perel, Andrew Solomon, and Diana Adams were going to be there. So Diana Adams is the founder of this thing. Esther Perel is a renowned couples therapist who has great TED Talks and a podcast. And then Andrew Solomon is the author of a book called The Noonday Demon. He has a lot of other books now, but the one I read was The Noonday Demon, an Atlas of Depression. And it has like the most beautiful first line in this book where he writes like, depression is the flaw in love. To be creatures who love, we must be creatures who can despair at what we lose. Something like that. It was just beautiful. Anyway, so these three people were going to be there. So I was like, I have to go to this. So, I spent the $200 or whatever to go to this foundation thing. And so when I was there, I got to meet both Esther, well, I mean, all three of them. I got to like hug Esther Perel and Andrew Solomon and like get them to sign my books. And like, I mean, there's some networking. And then Esther Perel even gave me her phone number for like possible supervision in the future, because I'm also seeing couples now. So like there hasn't been too much there, but like that networking was not expected, and just like I was so like starstruck. So yes, networking has been valuable for me since Mud for like personal reasons, and then up to now for career and like fan reasons.
Awesome. I have some thoughts here too. I think specific to utilizing mud and the mud community, because it's very valuable. So first off, I'll just shout out that mud got me halfway to getting my first software job at Google. I came back to the Mud career fair as like a 24 or 5-year-old. You can do that, do whatever you want. And I bumped into a friend who was working the Google table, and I was like, hey, Zakai, like, what's up? How's life at Google? And he was like, you should apply. We have a special a special like route for mudders to go through to make sure you get an interview. So that was great. So never question what the career services office can do for you and what your friends with good jobs can do for you. But also I've hired half my team at my current company from Mud, which is amazing. We have 11 software engineers on my team and 5 of them are from Mud. So call it nepotism, whatever you want, but it works and I've got great people working for me.
Ooh, that's so good. Yes, I want to clap too. All right, I think Maddie, you have the next one.
Yeah. Our next question is, how have your personal values shown up in your work and your career trajectory? Have there been times where you have felt a strong alignment or misalignment from your values? And if so, how did you navigate these times?
So my values, I have thought a lot about those, and I think the 4 that I like have right now are mindfulness slash presentness. I have them written down because I'm forgetting what the other ones are.
So impressed.
Love, trustfulness, and authenticity. So love, trustworthiness, authenticity, and I mean throughout Mud and then like the PhD, etc. I have always had the goal of helping others and just trying to help, like, maximum way I can, like to utilitarianism, effective altruism, like that kind of stuff. And I have been able to hold true to those, I think, like pretty well, just because I have them in mind a lot as the reflective kind of in my head person I am naturally. And it's not like software or like research in the program. Like I was trying to help people who are visually impaired. They weren't asking me to do anything sketchy or like compromise my values. It was fine. And then now as a therapist, I'm very much able to hold to those because that's like sort of what I'm what my career is about, helping others live a life that they want. So values wise, I just keep them in mind. It's a habit for me. So I've been able to hold on to them well because of the daily reflection.
I love that. I don't know if I'm gonna have such a good answer because have I thought much about my personal values? No. No, I have personal values. I'm just not as introspective and thoughtful. I don't know. I think the biggest thing that comes to mind is like that something I've always cared a lot about is surrounding myself with people who don't have an ego. And I think that's something that has been really instrumental in building the team I work on, and in hiring people. Have I had to drop those values? Like not personally, like not like in a way that I've had to do something compromising to that, but like in building my way into a place of leadership where I get to choose the people who I work with. Yes, I've had to work with people who have egos and people who are assholes, and that sucks, because I wasn't in control of the situation. But now at this point in my career, like I'm lucky enough to have that power and that ability to build like the culture that I want in my work environment. So I would say like keep your values strong in mind as you progress in your career so that you can give that to other people who are not as far into their careers.
Thank you both. What do you see for your future career path? Do you ever consider changing to different types of roles or maybe industries? Carlene, you want to take this?
Sure, yeah. My partner just totally changed their career and started med school this past fall. So I'm waiting till they become a doctor so that I can retire and be a chef or something. I'm half serious. But have I thought about switching my career 400 times? Absolutely. Have I done it yet? No. But yeah, I don't know. Follow your passions. Like if it makes sense in your life to go do something totally different, like you get one life, do it.
For my future, I mean, I'm expecting to like get my license, and then it's my current supervisor. He always talks about how his students often like go and get PhDs like in neuroscience or something. So I mean, I'm like I might go back into grad school sometime. I'm not against it. And then like software engineering, like I've always wondered like what is it like to work at as a software engineer, like at Google, for instance, because at Mud ended up doing a bunch of those research experience for undergraduates. I did an internship interview for like Microsoft once where they flew me to Seattle. But at the time, I think my confidence was just so low that it ended up like I didn't get accepted. I attribute it to that because like I had peers, in my CS classes where I mean, in talking to them, it didn't seem like I was missing something that they had or something. So I'm like, I think it was my confidence. Anywho, I still wonder what that's like. So I might go do that in the future.
Wanna
But
go
yeah,
back?
like just kind of exploring passions. It I'm with Carling, like, yeah, I'm gonna do it if I can. Or if I like I'm lucky that my husband here, he's making like more stable income while I'm building up again like my new career. And then if in the future I want to change, like if we have that financial ability, we have the one life. And I think like I value that adventurousness. So I'll do it.
Marry rich. No, I'm just I'm totally
It can
kidding.
help.
I'm to-
Thank you guys so much for sharing about that. Our next question is, with the knowledge and experience you have now, what advice would you tell your younger self? Would you change anything about your time at Mud or the first years of your careers? I don't know, we can start with Brenda if that works.
Yeah. Telling my younger self. I think I think about that question every now and then. But I don't know if I come up with answers if I forget my answers. Because again, like with Mud, and I would think like if I knew what what I know now, would I like even go to Mud? It's like no, definitely I would. Um, hmm. I mean, I think that what I would want to remind myself of are like the mindsets that I've learned from therapy that have been helpful to getting me to where I am now. Such as it's okay to change your mind. Like when you get new information, you can make a new decision. We're doing the best that we can at any given moment with the information we have. That's it. And that can be helpful because I think I grew up definitely like trying to optimize everything. Like I need to have like the perfect to-do list or the perfect, plan for my classes and get these grades, et cetera, et cetera. Um, I have to have it figured out so I can optimize my time at Mud. And it's like no, fluidity matters, context matters. Um, and what works one day might not work the next, and that's okay. Like if for my freshman year waking up at I remember freshman year, I just woke up at 6:22 a.m. every day. It was like the specific time, like 2 extra minutes to sleep. I don't know what I did, but like that could work for freshman year. And then sophomore year, it's like, no, I'm gonna like sleep in or just like things can change, and that's okay. Because a lot of this internal criticism that I struggled with while at Mud, came from me thinking that I needed to figure it out right away. But the fact that we're constantly changing means that we can never figure it out. Because even if we figure it out for today, like tomorrow, Brenda's going to be a little different. And so, yeah, I think if I told myself that before, it would have made going through Mud a little smoother. Not easy, right? But a little easier, like a little nicer.
I like that advice. Let's see. I think like probably the biggest thing that comes to mind is, and I think this is good advice for mudders and maybe not for everyone. So, keep this to yourselves. Stop caring about your GPA. It's not gonna matter. Mine was bad and it never once came up ever. And Mud holds a lot of weight, and even more so now than it did when I graduated in 2014. So ride that wave. Take your time now to really enjoy the material and get like everything you want conceptually out of the classes, and try to pass them. But like also it's okay if you fail some classes. Like just enjoy it and stop worrying about the grades. Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Just enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Also, like I was gonna say, also enjoy your time with mudders and the community you have, because it is so hard to find those like-minded people when you're an adult. Well, not your adults, but when you're an out of college adult.
yeah, when you're outside, right? Yeah. So what words of advice would you give to current, I know to you trickled a little bit on it, but what final words of advice would you give current Harvey Mudd students?
I want to advise students to be intentional. Give themselves space to make decisions. And I mean, being intentional is it's not like it's easy to do. But just as much as one can, like try to be intentional and not just run on autopilot. Like, don't try to get the 4.0 GPA just because. Don't like I don't know, like say even like attend every class. Like, do I have to attend every single class? Like, if you need a mental health day or something, like just like being intentional and not doing things just because everyone else does or because you're supposed to, or like, questioning like norms and carving your way through college in a way that just fits you. So being intentional.
Yeah. I thought of one thing, which is kind of a reiteration of a lot of things that we've said already, but you have, when you finish Mudd, and even if you didn't finish Mudd and you decided to leave in the middle, the experience that you had at Mudd and what you learned at Mudd, it doesn't disappear later in your life. You have it, like you already did it and you have it. You can apply it whenever you want. So it doesn't matter if you spend 10, 15 years not applying it. If you decided, or you probably will, like even if you're not directly applying it, like you're probably applying it anyway. But even if in 15 years you're like, okay, now I think I want to go use my degree in a more like concrete way, you can do that. It's not like it doesn't disappear. So just do what you want to do and figure it out later.
Yes, very true. I have another question that just popped up. Did you all have any special or specific courses? I know that you all went through the math, pathway and the CS and math, but were there any like specific courses where you were like, I'm so glad I took this, or oh my God, I don't want to do this again, or extracurricular activities or some research clubs or anything like that that helped you choose what you want to do?
Definitely, yes. Do I help me choose? So I just did a lot of extra class, or they had the 5 colleges to choose from, so I took liberty of that. I tried to explore classes, and then the extracurriculars, like the Claremont College's ballroom dance company, totally my thing while I was at Mudd. Did it help me choose what I want to do? Because I did take psych classes. I remember taking like emotions and positive psychology, intro to psych at Claremont McKenna, and actually that Professor Daniel Kraus. I reached out to him when I was switching into therapy, asked him for a letter of recommendation. It was beautiful. So it's great having that connection. Oh, and Deborah Mashek, who was also at Mudd. Actually, she was a Mudd professor in psychology, like in something about intimate relationships. So I took psych classes at Mudd. It was, I think, my humanities, and then it did help me get to where I am today. But I thoroughly enjoyed like taking philosophy classes, theology classes. What else did I do? But then like extracurricular wise, like I did archery, and I still enjoy archery and dancing like here in New York City. And so they are valuable for my like self-care, for me being able to, be more present in my career because I've taken care of myself in these other arenas. And then like homework hotline, science bus, being a wellness peer at Mudd. I mean, the wellness peer one really connects to my current career, but just like teaching others helped me build a lot of good skills and fulfilled me. So I definitely appreciated all of those opportunities that we got. Yeah.
Cool. I think my answer is kind of similar. I feel like you a lot of the things you latched onto were like the non-math things, which the math program is freaking amazing, and every class I took was awesome. But in math, I feel like just it doesn't matter what you pick, like just go with what's most interesting to you. The things that like I feel like I look back on and remember most from my time at Mud were like the really random classes I took. Like I did an independent study in bookbinding at Scripps. It was so cool. It comes up all the time. Like I know a lot about books and their bindings. Like it's so random. But like cool shit. And you have access to like so much like ceramic studios. Like, you know how much it costs to go use a ceramic studio in real life? It's ridiculous. So go use those things. Like take advantage of the resources that you have at your disposal. Yeah, there's just like a lot of cool stuff to explore.
Yes, definitely taking advantage of the other 5 Cs. That's great to hear. I loved your experience, and I loved how open you all are to sharing your experiences with us and with the HMC community. I think that's very helpful, especially for our students, who are, undeclared and don't know where to choose, or if they are indeed math and they're like, is this the right path for me? So I think this is very helpful that you all provide this different lens for our students. So I really do appreciate all your insights and advice to our students. But I think that wraps us up. And so I want to thank our panelists, Carling and Brenda, for sharing your experiences. We truly appreciate you taking the time to meet with us. This recording will be uploaded to the Harvey Mudd College's Career Services playlist on YouTube, and it will be available for all our community members. Thank you so much, Brenda and Carling. And thank you, Maddie, for moderating.
Thank you guys so much. I wanted to reiterate that thank you. This was super great.